Hi guys, welcome back to Just Talking, where I talk at you and you sometimes listen. Today we are doing a family guide for Blackpool Pleasure Beach because it can be hard amidst all of the thrill rides at the park to actually find out what to do and what's appropriate to bring kids on, because it can always be daunting going to a new park and not knowing what's going to scare them and what's not, and how to introduce people to more thrilling rides and also get them into theme parks, because it can be very scary going to your first theme park. So let's get into the first thing, which is Nickelodeon Land. This is the main feature family area of the park, and it features everyone's favourite Nickelodeon characters, including Paw Patrol, Fairly Odd Parents, The Backyardigans, SpongeBob, and also Dora. And you can meet and greet the characters throughout the day. The times are normally listed when you go into the park because they do vary based on which employees are there and also which day of the week it is. And it does truly vary, and you can buy photos and memorabilia from there. So let's get into what's actually in this area. So you have the Nickelodeon shop, which features a lot of branded merchandise from Nickelodeon, including clothing, toys, teddies, and also a few other accessories, which you can check out on the website as well, I believe. And it features all the merchandise that you could expect from another shop that was branded online. Some of the merchandise in there is harder to find outside of the park, and some of it is specific to the park too. So it's very worth going in because not all of the prices are extortionate. A lot of the different toy sets are very affordable. For the ride section, you also have Avatar Airbender, which is a more thrilling spinning ride, which is pictured here, and it goes along a track and spins around as it does so. And this is more for older audiences from tweens and up, because it is a bit more thrilling and it uses the force of gravity, and it does get a little bit fast and might be a bit dizzying for younger kids, but I'd say ages 8 and up could handle this ride. The Fairly Odd Parents taxi spin is pictured here. It's a sort of Dumbo the Elephant type of ride where you press a button and it will raise your taxi into the air, and the second you let go of it, it'll drop you back down. I would say this is appropriate for all ages that are tall enough to go on it. I'm not going to list all of the heights here because that would make the video very long, but I'd say this is a very family friendly ride. It doesn't go fast and it doesn't go all too high, so there's no issue with the height of it, and it's very fun, and there's no risk of you getting dizzy because of the way that the sort of ride moves and how it works with gravity. It doesn't make you go dizzy while you're spinning around. Then there's Diego's Treetop Adventure. This is a sort of ride where you're going in a hot air balloon, and it's pictured here, and you go into the air and you spin around, and you can optionally spin the hot air balloon around, but you get a nice view of the area, and it's just quite calming in my opinion. Then you have Blue Flyer and Nick Streak, which are the two wooden roller coasters in the area. Blue Flyer is a good first roller coaster for a child. It's not turbulent or anything, and it features about 2 or 3 drops that are only about 10-20 feet high, and they're definitely not something that would scare a child, and you can also get pictures of that. A Nickelodeon Streak, once again, is aimed at ages 8 and up, but this ride can get a lot of queues, so if you are getting into the park early, I would recommend going on this relatively fast, because towards the end of the day, sometimes queues can go from an hour to 2 hours, and I have at one point queued for an hour and 45 minutes for this ride. And it's not too turbulent, it features a few embankments, it doesn't drop too far down, and it features some fun and thrilling bunny hops towards the end of the ride. I don't believe there is a picture system on this ride, so you won't be expecting that. You also have the Rugrats Lost River ride, which is a small sort of log flume which does pack a punch. I would warn you of that. It might look like the drop is only about 10-20 feet tall, similar to Blue Flyer, but it does get you incredibly wet, so I'd recommend going on this ride when it's a relatively warm day. And if you are going on it when it's slightly colder, I'd recommend a poncho, but it's got some decent scenery, it's nice and relaxing, and the drop isn't too big that it's scary, and you do get nice and wet. So if it is a hot day, this is definitely one for your family. And it can seat up to about 3 people, I believe. That's the most I've been able to fit on a log. And, you know, it's great for the summer, and since it is coming into the summer holidays now, it's a perfect opportunity to get down and get on that, and it is very warm in Blackpool at the minute. You'll also find the Backyardigans Pirate Adventure. That is a pirate spinning ride where you sit on the pirate ship and it spins you around on a track. And that is also there. You have the Krusty Krab Order Up, which is a small drop tower appropriate for, I'd say, ages 7 up. And it's very small and it just bounces up and down, really. And then the Dora's World Voyage, which takes you on a little boat ride around the world and give you some educational facts, and you get to see some sort of important worldwide landmarks and also some animals in there too. Then you also have the Big Pizza Restaurant, which is on the side of where Space Invader would be, which is the big moon crater here. And that just sells relatively priced pizzas that can be big, small. They do also offer kids' meals too in there. So overall, the area is really great for families, and I'd say that you'd probably be spending the majority of your time in here because a lot of the rides are very re-rideable. And you can see here, there's more rides on the map, so you can pause the video and take a look through some of them. It might be a bit hard to see, but I would say that this area is going to be the place that you're mainly going to be staying in. The rides are really good. The 2 roller coasters are very reputable. I really enjoy them. So they're appropriate for all ages, as well as Avatar Airbender. And it is just next to Avalanche and also the Pleasure Beach Express, so it's easy to access as well. For the dark rides section, you have about 4 dark rides in the whole entire park, and I'd say all of these are appropriate for it. On the website, they are also listed as family rides. And the Ghost Train is 117 centimetres without an adult. And for all of these rides, if you're under that, there are some restrictions on if you can go in if you're under that height. Based on like if you can walk to the ride. So if your child cannot walk up to the actual ride and get in the seat themselves, then they won't be allowed on, because there are some restraints that you could maybe need to hold on to at some point, but it's not turbulent. The drop in the centre of the facade isn't anything thrilling. There's no real elements that are going to scare you or anything. There's no jump scares. The animatronics aren't going to start touching you or anything. There's no live actors, and it's very appropriate for younger kids. I would say maybe 8 years and up, because for any younger than that it might scare them, and you don't want to put your kid off and you don't want them to not sleep that night. So I would just keep that in mind. But if they like it, if they go up to the facade and see some of the decorations and think, yeah, I want to go on that, it's got a lot of charm, it's quite funny at times, and it's really enjoyable, but sometimes the queues can get a little bit big. Then you have the Alice ride, which is themed based on the original Disney cartoon version of the story, and that is 117 centimetres without an adult. Once again, it has the same restrictions as a Ghost Train, with you have to be able to walk up to the ride to get on it, and there are some other different restrictions with that, but you can look into that on the website or when you get there, and that takes you through the full story with no like scary elements. It's not that dark, and it's filled with luminescent characters from the popular story, and it tells the full tale all the way through with the lovely I've Got a Golden Ticket music playing in the background, and it features just a lot of really colourful characters and nice animatronics, and it's very relaxing and fun and vibrant, and wherever you look there's something to see, so that's very engaging for a young child. Wallace and Gromit, 117 centimetres without an adult, or 90 centimetres with, because it does have a lap bar, so there is a restriction on that. There's no, it is called Thrill-O-Matic, but there isn't any drops or any fast elements. It's actually just a powered dark ride, and it does run on the same exact route that Goldmine did. It just has an updated track style, so then they have more control over the speed, and it doesn't go as slow as Goldmine did. And that takes you up through all of the popular Wallace and Gromit films, including A Grand Day Out, A Matter of Love and Death, A Close Shave, and also Curse of the Were-Rabbit. And it tells that through a series of audio clips, pieces of music from the different short films, and also the feature-length film, and also the animatronics too. And it's just really good, it's really funny, and it's just all the classic characters with all of the charm that the Pleasure Beach always provides. And I would say it's definitely worth a ride on too. The River Caves is 132 centimetres without an adult. This takes on the log flume system, and it basically takes you through the full world, and it takes you through mysterious China. It takes you back to the dinosaurs and cave people. Then it takes you underwater, and then into a Mayan sort of temple. Then into the ice grotto, the blue grotto, which is set in basically the polar ice caps in a cave, and there's loads of stalactites and stars. Then into the Egyptian section, and then into Angkor Wat. I apologise for the police siren in the background, if you can hear that. But I would say that this is definitely an appropriate ride for any age that can go on it. And it's really fun and entertaining, and it never gets old. It has that timeless charm with the animatronics in it as well. And I just never fail to enjoy it. It's so much fun. It's not scary. The little drop at the end confuses me because I can't understand really how you get so low that you actually need to be raised up. I'm not too sure when you actually lower, like the track lowers itself, but whatever. And you don't get wet. Last time I got a little bit wet on my head, but that was just because the water level was a bit higher than it normally is, so that's not an issue. And it's just great, and kids love dinosaurs and under the water, and there's a lot of different like monkeys and elephants that are playing around, and there's all sorts of things to look at, similar with the Alice in Wonderland ride. So there's no issue with the engagement factor, and you could go on that multiple times, and the queues at the minute never really get too high because they are running multiple boats at a time. So here pictured is the river caves. You can see here it just shows all the places that you'll go to. The facade has changed since this picture was taken. I believe that this no longer is stationed there, and also they have removed the dinosaurs just to repaint them. And here you can just see where the boat does roll into that drop, and it's not very tall whatsoever. It doesn't get you wet, but it goes through beautifully clear water, and it's completely fun, safe, and appropriate for all ages. And here is a ghost train, and this is no longer here anymore, and they don't really have the smoke effect, so do not worry about encountering smoke effects and kids being scared about what's around those corners, because they only really have these at late night riding events. And these sorts of animatronics, they're not animatronics actually, albeit, but they just have very basic animatronics depicting some popular franchises such as Dracula and The Exorcist, but not in any violent and scary way. And it's really up to your child to decide once they get to the facade, because it doesn't get any scarier than what it looks like on the outside, I promise. It is a bit dark in there, but there's no issue with the darkness because nothing's going to jump out of it. All of the elements are permanently lit up, so there's no issue with going into a room and then something lighting up. There's absolutely none of that. So for the family thrill rides, you have steeplechase, which is of course based off of a steeplechase, and basically you ride on the back of a horse and it takes you over a series of small dips and jumps on the back of your horse, and two people can ride on it, and 127 centimetres with an adult, because really if you're under that, then yeah, it just doesn't work like that, because you do have to be properly strapped in, and it's got specific straps and you are safe. But 127 centimetres, I'd say is probably about an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, possibly even 7, but there's really no issue with that. Of course, if you are accompanied by an adult, you cannot go on the ride either, and there is no speedy pass or photography on it. Then you have Grand National. This has a height of 117 centimetres, and that is accompanied by an adult. You can't go on it if you are accompanied by an adult and lower than this. This is a more turbulent white knuckle ride. You're not allowed on it if you have any heart issues or back issues, because it can be a bit rough at times, but I would say if kids turn out liking Nickelodeon Streak, I'd say that's probably what you'd go on before this, or Big Dipper. Then I'd say this is definitely the next step up. It's really fun. It's a Mobius loop coaster, which means it appears to be racing when it's actually two trains on one track, and it appears to have switched stations when actually it's just going on its normal route. And it's really fun, it's competitive, it's fast, it's thrilling, and I would say that kids can go on it, definitely. It's a family thrill ride, and here you can see kids on it. It's very popular with families. Then you have Avalanche. This is a toboggan type of roller coaster ride, and this is 132 centimetres without an adult, and 112 when accompanied by an adult, because as you can see here, someone can sit behind the front rider, which means that the smaller person can go in front, and this does increase ride capacity, but it also means that younger and smaller kids can go on it. You experience the force of gravity, and it does pull on you a bit, so make sure you do comfortably get strapped in, because if not, then you probably will get it dug into like your waist area a bit. But it's not too fast. It's very thrilling in my opinion, but I would say that kids go on it a lot, and that kids can still go on it because it's not necessarily as turbulent as Grand National, and it's just a bit more intense than steeplechase, and I'd say that any kid could enjoy Avalanche. It's themed in a sort of Swiss area, and there's obviously the bear band playing outside. You have got ride photography on this ride, so it's a great way to get a memory. And also there is a lot of merchandise and scarves available from the shop, just where you get the pictures from. I would say this is definitely a great ride to take kids on. Even as like probably one of the first few roller coasters, if they are like 7 or 8. I go on this every year, but sometimes the queues can get really big, so I'd say either get on it right at the start of the day or probably at the end, because other than that, based on the low sort of put through time, it can get quite saturated, that queue. Then you have the Big Dipper, which is a little turbulent. It's got smoother since its retrack in the off season, but it is still slightly on par with Grand National. It's a similar age, and this is 117 centimetres with or without an adult, and they can't ride it underneath it if they're not 117 centimetres tall. There is no ride photography, and it's a wooden roller coaster that features a few drops which interact with rides such as Icon and the big one, as well as the Pleasure Beach Express, so there's some nice scenery around there, and it's very fun. It's not as white knuckle as Grand National, and it's just a load of fun to go on. I would say there's no issue with like real fear of it, because it's not too tall, but the only fearful thing in there, and the only thing you should be afraid of, is the queue times, which can get really big. And I would say don't go on it on the end of the day, because sometimes they'll unexpectedly close the Big Dipper. I don't really sing the praises of the operators for the Big Dipper, because I've had some really bad experiences with random unexplained closures, but this is definitely a great ride to go on. It's got a lot of history. It holds a world record for the most amount of times a person has been on a roller coaster for consecutively. It's fun, it has great scenery, and it doesn't go very fast in my opinion, and you know, it's a good thrill ride for a young person. I would say that obviously me being older than what a young person would probably be, I would say that this will probably be quite a fun, intense ride, and one of those where you might be a bit nervous going on to it, but afterwards you'd probably want to go on it again. Then you have the flying machines, which I'd consider quite thrilling. It's a sort of flat ride where you position yourself on a sort of space-themed sort of rocket plane, and it spins you around in a pretty big circle, and the plane will of course lean outwards, and it's a load of fun. It's great when it's on a night when it's all lit up, but you feel gravity and there's wind pushing on your face, so it's great to cool down on. And you can also look at the big one, the Noah's Ark statue, you have Avalanche, you have views of Alice in Wonderland, the Ghost Train, Grand National. It's a great place to look at different things, and that is 117 centimetres with the height restrictions, and if you meet that restriction, then you know you can ride it unaccompanied. But if you are accompanied by an adult, there is conditions that will allow you to go on it, and I believe that is similar if you can walk to the ride, and also if you are like just a little certain height. But obviously if you are bringing like an infant on, they're not going to say yeah, put him on. So you just need to really research that on the day or on the website. I'm not too sure if they actually include the conditions. So here's some miscellaneous flat rides. You have the Grand Prix and also the Alpine Rally, which allows young kids to drive their own little car around a track. Grand Prix can get some pretty big queues because not all the times the throughput is the best. But I would say that this is a really great ride because you get to see Icon going past, and you get to interact with a load of different other rides, and you can actually steer it to some extent. And if your child can reach the pedals, it can be quite fun to feel like they're driving their own car. I'm not too sure on the height restrictions and different limitations on the ride, but I don't believe they really list that on the website. But if you do want to check that out, then definitely do. But I would say that that's a really fun ride because you can just see all this different scenery and feel like you're driving a car. And the Alpine Rally is just a smaller version of that. Then you also have the Eddie Stobar ride, which basically takes you through a sort of mountainous type area, and you get to see some of course, fake animals, different fake rides and things in a little village and things. And that's really engaging for younger kids. It looks great in the dark, and it's just fun because you get to pretend like you're driving a truck in it. Then you also have the various carousels. I would say that the one by the Alice in Wonderland ride and Flying Machines is definitely the best one. I can never remember its name because it doesn't actually really say it outside of the ride, apart from on the sign, where it says a height restriction. But I would say that's definitely the best one because they all play classical music on them, with the sort of typical little band that most carousels will have, and also some relevant songs, some pop songs, and it goes relatively fast, and it's not attached to a ceiling, and you're attached from the bottom, so you can feel like you're riding a horse a little bit more. And then you have just a variety of other rides such as bumper cars, and things like that, and they vary on whether or not they're open. I haven't seen the bumper cars open as of late, but I'm not too sure how that's going to go. So, thank you for watching. This was just kind of a video I wanted to do because I thought, I feel like I've reviewed this from the point of view of myself, and I thought, what about people who want to go and don't know which rides are appropriate? All the ones I've listed in this video I would say are appropriate for younger audiences, and I'd say that some of them they might be a bit anxious to go on, but it's one of those where if you go on it, you want to go on it again. There are other rides that they might choose to go on the day, particularly the big one, because it seems to be a sort of thing that people want to flex about, and it's a popular ride, and I would say that, if kids want to go on it, then they should go on it, it's up to them. But the rides I've listed here are the most appropriate ones that won't scare them out of theme parks, and things that they'll enjoy and want to go on again and make it just an overall happier day. And of course, if you want further information, you can go onto the website. And if you like this sort of content, make sure to like, comment any feedback and suggestions. And please subscribe if you want to see more of these regular uploads. And yeah, this is just talking.